Hi, this is Mark, and you're listening to episode 28 of Nerdology, sponsored by CSO The Cult Fanzine, and my very special guest today is Mr. Eric Escamilla. What the hell?
Come with me if... Oh, wait, did I wake the baby? Sorry about that.
Who the hell are you?
Anyway, come with me if you want to live, English guy.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
Hey, I just realized I've never tasered anyone from Great Britain before. Legalbot.
Eaglebot, here.
Transport me back and drop the needle on my music, yo.
Needle dropping engaged, energizing.
Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. I think something is happening.
This week, on the Tower of Technobabble, we quote-unquote borrow a British man to talk about the paranormal happenings across the pond, as they say. It's a lively topic, and I'm sure there's no way he'll sue us. To be on the safe side, though, Legalbot is in standby mode. Welcome to the Tower of Technobabble.
Hello, audience. Welcome to Tower of Technobabble, Season 4, Episode 8. I'm the repeater.
Here you go. You meatbags can thank me at your convenience.
What the hell did you do, Towerbot? What is this?
You guys said you wanted to class up this joint a little. I figured what better way to class it up than to import another meatbag, but this time with a cool accent. Next to him, you all sound like deep-fried Snickers on a stick, hootin' and hollerin' with your big fat middle American tongues.
We said class up the place. We didn't mean for you to kidnap a foreign national.
Yeah, are you trying to restart the War of 1812? What the hell, man?
Bored now. You monkeys have a nice show or whatever the hell it is you do. Legalbot and I are going to be watching our stories until it's time for me to answer the letter.
Yeah, fine. You're in trouble. Just go to your room. Go to your room, man.
Has anyone considered turning him off?
I asked for an English breakfast, not an English break-in.
I just wanted to frame that poster of Westeros we have in the rec room.
Somebody see if he's...
Oh,
if he's
what the...
hey,
What the
are
hell?
you okay, buddy?
Where am I? What's...
Let's see. This is
That was actually pinned to his sweater.
right.
You mean?
Let's
Are
see
you
here.
telling me he left
Hang
us
on.
a freaking packing
Hang on.
slip?
Yes. No. We've got the invoice here. It's this is Mark Cockrum. Okay. And
Hello, Mark. Welcome to
Did you tell
America.
him to taser me in the testicles? Was there any need for that?
Well, there's never any need for it. But,
and it's I've been provided with Mark's Dungeons and Dragons stat sheet. He has a +9 against cryptids, it says here, and his name is a palindrome. Mark lives in the fine city of Exeter, which is in the southwest of England, along with his lovely wife Amy, their newborn son Tom, and Pyewacket the cat.
Yes.
Mark
Unusual name.
Mark
Pyewacket?
produces his own podcast called
That's my wife's
Nerdology
fault.
UK.
Wait, say that again. Mark.
What?
Mark what? Mark produces his own podcast?
Mark produces his own podcast called Nerdology UK. It covers
I've heard of that.
movies,
Yeah.
TV, books, and pop culture. And, yeah.
We had this crazy guy on the last one. He was kind of going on about the Daleks' master plan ad infinitum.
Oh, boring.
that sounds achingly familiar.
It also says here that Mark tries to get in a word in edgeways on the Blue Box podcast, a weekly Doctor Who show, which he records with Simon Brett, Lee Rawlings, and J.R. Southall, the same J.R. who was here at the Tower a few months ago for our Doctor Who 50th anniversary show.
I think Towerbot might have just lifted his address book, and that's how Mark found his way to the tower.
Yeah.
God, I am so sorry, Mark.
Well, it's okay. The sort of stinging sensation's going away now, so...
Yeah, walk it off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man
yeah.
up. Come on.
I don't think I'll be having any more children.
I will provide you this cold compress if you promise not to sue us.
Yeah, it's actually a bag of frozen peas, but same deal.
Whatever.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, welcome to the colonies, Mark.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's very nice of you to invite me over in a very strange, slightly kidnappy way.
Well, we figured this way you wouldn't have to go through all the airport security. This is much more straightforward. And,
They're very careful about who they let into the country, aren't they?
Yeah, how many times have you been tasered at the airport? Tons. Here, it was just once, right?
Just once.
Right? So,
It's with surgical precision.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of the town of Exeter. Is it a town or a city? What is that?
It's a city. It's a city, yeah. It's quite a small city.
Okay. Is it? I'm picturing something tranquil and adorable with lots of cobblestone roads and guys on horseback.
Yeah, a friend came over from America recently and thought it was like something out of Harry Potter.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you live next to the little wine shop? Or
Yeah, how did you know that? Actually, J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter series, she went to university at Exeter, and some of the places in Exeter have inspired locations in the Harry Potter books, including Diagon Alley.
You're telling me that Hogwarts is in your city, basically?
This is true. No, it's not. No, apparently Diagon Alley is based on one of the streets in Exeter.
Oh, is it sort of like
Interesting.
Is it sort of a place where you shouldn't be there after midnight, or it's kind
That's
of
it. You got it.
A magical crime alley, if you will.
But the thing is, okay, we have such alleys here in the colonies, but our
Yeah, they're called all of them.
our alleys are filled with dumpsters and trash and homeless guys pissing. I'm picturing your dangerous alleys being charming and just I don't know with the shady guys wearing top hats that are actually.
That's right. Yeah, we all wear bowler hats and we carry umbrellas all the time.
It's just
and
like
everyone knows
Oliver
the Queen.
Twist, isn't it?
It is exactly like Oliver Twist.
We're going to need the stereotype jar to put some money in, I think.
I'm here.
Handy. Okay.
We don't need
Stereotype
more than
jar.
loose change.
We were going to be wealthy at the end of this.
All right. I already see where this is going, Mark. You're obviously applying for the position of foreign correspondent.
Yeah.
So,
Technically, is he a forward correspondent if Towerbot kidnapped him and brought him here?
hey, the ends just justifies the means. That's our motto in the U.S.
Yeah, that's actually engraved in his breastplate, I believe.
Apple did it for him. Now, for you to get in, for you to really be part of the family here, there's one thing we need to know. We need to know the results of your Myers-Briggs personality test.
Oh, yes. I took that just after I listened to the show that you did. Now, let's have a look. Right. Okay. Now, I came up as ENFJ, which is idealist, trademark, teacher.
Really?
We finally found an E.
Wait a minute. Are you Padme?
Yeah.
That is so hot.
Mark, you are awesome.
That's the thing, you see, because I just used to do that at the weekends, and it just happened that it corresponded with my results. I mean, that was quite lucky.
Really? So, according to this, you are warm, empathetic, and charismatic. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent
That's me
people
all over.
skills. Okay, I guess you need to have people skills to be a new father. That's sort of a textbook
I
definition.
guess.
We would hope so.
You are highly sensitive to the emotions and needs of others. So,
Yes.
Conduit needs hugs about every hour, so you just be ready for that. Okay.
Come here, Dave.
Oh, thanks.
Got an English hug. Cool.
Aw.
Now, in Lord of the Rings, you're Faramir.
Yeah, that's the guy who gets set on fire by his dad, isn't it?
That's
Almost.
kind of creepy.
Slightly tinged.
Slightly.
Just toasty.
Saved at the last minute, though, so, he lives.
Yeah, not quite barbecued. And in Doctor Who land, I'm Donna Noble, which is somewhat worrying.
No, I like Donna. She's my favorite of the new companions, I think.
Yeah, she's yeah. I think she's one of the better companions of the new series. But we won't go on about that because
Well, no, actually, okay.
the other two will be bored to death with this already. I'm sure.
I think I also see where this is going. Obviously, you were sit here for a reason, so I'm just going to go ahead and assume that we're going to talk about Doctor Who for the next 3 hours, all right?
No. Please no.
All right, fine. Go to the letter or something. Jeez. I'm just going to... Hey, Mark, maybe later call me up, right?
Tonight on
Tread Shoe Diaries.
I'll have what she's having.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mark.
it turns out she's having a cheeseburger.
Mark,
sweet.
Mark, I finally got the Moonbase DVD with all of the animated recons. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Tarbot, load taser.
Yeah.
All right. I'll shut up.
All right. I suppose I'm reading the letter again.
You have the best voice for these things. You're
Shall
very
I?
corresponding.
Well,
You
it's
have
because
dulcet
I'm
tones.
It's because I'm very sinusy this AM. All right, Tread Shoe Diaries here. It says, Dear Towerbot, I really hope you can help me. Being English, I find myself in lots of socially awkward situations. For instance, if someone bumps into me, I will apologize to them. If I go to a restaurant and the food is terrible, when the waiter asks if everything was okay with the meal, I tell them it was excellent and leave a generous tip. Someone waved their hand at me in the street the other day, so I waved back, only to realize that they were in fact waving at someone standing behind me. I just wanted the ground to open up and swallow me. I was hoping you might be able to offer me some advice on how to be less awkward in public. Anyway, I have to go now. I am looking out of the living room window. My neighbor is mowing their lawn, and I can't bear the thought of us making eye contact. So I'm going to shut myself in the cupboard with a cup of tea until I'm sure that they have gone. Kindest regards, Bernard from Wetwang, East Yorkshire.
I think you owe the stereotype jar a shilling.
No, because he didn't say it in a fake British accent.
That's true.
Good job, Paul.
I was very tempted, though.
What are the odds? What are the odds of us having a kidnapped foreign national and then a letter comes from his exact same country?
I know,
are
it's
the
crazy,
odds?
isn't it?
Astronomical, really, I would think.
All right, Towerbot, come out of your room and give this guy an answer. We need some 4 and up, okay?
Dear Bernard, sounds like you've got a case of what we experts like to call passive avoidance stressor syndrome involving negative guidance or passing, for short. You might also have guilt aversion syndrome, or GAS, for short. Fortunately, there's a solution for those who suffer from passing gas. As a professional in the studies of you little primates, I would recommend exposure therapy. Don't worry, it doesn't involve taking your pants off in public. At least not at first. To begin with, I would recommend taking a trip to Canada. The people of the Great White North, also known as America's Hat, are famous for apologizing for things that they have no control over. They'll apologize for the weather. They'll apologize if you sneeze on them. They'll apologize if you run a red light and hit them in the crosswalk. I know that one from experience that I'm legally bound from discussing further. The point is, go to Canada and have the experience of someone apologizing to you. You'll find that it's not so bad. After a while, you'll acquire a taste for it. A little later, you'll crave it like a junkie. At this point, you'll want to get apologies from people who give them a little less freely. At this point, you'll travel to New Jersey and tell them that, whatever it is they're doing at the time, they're doing it wrong. Apologies will be hard to come by, but they'll be so very sweet when they do. Now, you can travel back to England with your newfound moxie and rule your neighborhood with an iron fist. Also, you won't want to wear pants. That's a known side effect. Enjoy ruling your bare-bottom kingdom without worrying about passing gas again. Love, Towerbot.
Well,
Wow.
I think we only have one thing to say to Bernard from Wetwang, East Yorkshire, and that's we're sorry. We're sorry.
Yeah.
Apologize.
Yeah.
We actually have a forum for apologizing for Towerbot around here somewhere.
I'm not sorry!
Now, I'm wondering, do you think this guy made up the name of that town? What was it? Wetwang?
Wetwang exists.
You're
It's a
kidding.
real
Really?
place. Yeah, they have a yearly competition where they hurl Wellington boots. It's the Welly Wanging competition.
You're totally making this up. Is that true?
I'm not. You can Google it.
The Welly. Wait, what is it called again?
The Welly Wang.
Welly Wanging.
Welly
Wanging.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Wonder what they do in Dildo Nova Scotia.
Yeah, well, let's not go there.
Yeah, well, you know how to get there.
See, I was going to write in a letter myself, but Bernard
were?
beat me to it. Yeah.
Well, you know, we love getting correspondence from all over the world, and you know, okay, I figured we could do one of two things. We could either send you back to England, and then you could
Hang on.
What?
Towerbot's passively aggressively sending me a note. He's got a new sounder.
Oh, okay.
Fine. He's charged up his taser, so there it is.
I've got it back. Got it back. Got it back. I'm Hot War Creature. I've got it bad. So very, very bad. I'm hardcore creature.
Hot for Creature Extreme British Edition. Would this by any chance be what your letter to us was going to talk about?
What are the chances of that? That's incredible.
I don't know.
But suddenly we have an EBE edition? I don't know.
How many coincidences in one show? It's just crazy.
That's what we're all about, coincidence.
Could this be why Towerbot kidnapped you in the first place? Because he was like, I don't know. This all.
The web of life with its strands stringing to and fro.
Yeah, it's all part of life's rich pageant. What can you do? So anyway, you're going to talk about.
Yeah, I wanted to take exception to something you said in your last episode. Something about we were in thrall of you American guys because you had all these crazy, weird creatures roaming about the place, and we didn't have anything like that.
Well, aren't you? I mean, I've never heard of any
we are a
English
bit,
monster.
but
To be official, this was Ben you were talking about, right?
Yeah, this is
He's
true.
the one
This is
who
true.
upset you, not us.
No, I've got no beef with you guys at all. It's just Ben.
Just Ben. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, well, in my own defense, I've never heard of any British monsters. I'm not including the Loch Ness Monster because I believe they are actively seeking independence from your country, so I didn't put them in. And all I ever hear about are those Christmas ghosts. I never hear about monsters or anything. I figured that was just here in the frontier, here in the colonies. So you're telling me I'm wrong? Is that what you're saying?
We have all sorts of weird and wonderful happenings. Not just monsters, but kind of weird, crazy stuff, ghosts and weird happenings.
You had millennia to chase them off your island.
Exactly, yeah. We've been doing this a long time.
Okay, Mr. Britain, prove it.
Okay, you guys, you probably don't get this over there because you don't have that much land in the States, do you? It's quite a small country.
I wouldn't want to paint it, though. You know?
Very tiny.
Yeah. Have you heard of crop circles? Have you come across those before?
We have.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if it's a little known fact that crop circles originally, the earliest one that I could find on Wikipedia was in 1686. But I've actually really gone to great lengths to make sure that I really researched this thoroughly. And I actually found out that there's an earlier instance of this happening because they're saying that usually it happens with wheat or barley, rye, maize, rapeseed crops, so you'll see these intricate patterns, and always circles. They can be sort of square as well. But there's actually an earlier occurrence. It happens in 1600. And have you heard of a guy called William Shakespeare? He was quite big over here for a while.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of our movies that we've been seeing.
Yeah. He did a couple of plays, and he did some sonnets and stuff. And he did this sonnet, and I've actually got a transcript of it here. And it starts... Rain do maketh corn. Corn do maketh whiskey. Whiskey maketh my baby a little frisky.
Amazing!
Who'd have thought it?
I'm telling you, that song transcends time and space. It speaks to the very soul of what it is to be human. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess rain
he had a
do
way
make
with words,
corn.
Shakespeare.
And that also proves that American country singers are ripping off your beloved English culture from the 1600s.
American. Apostrophe American. Oh.
It sounded more sophisticated whenever Mark said it, though. I have to say.
true.
So, but, cool.
And one could imagine a lute instead of, steel guitar.
So, okay, well, actually, I do want to ask something. I've always heard that crop circles, they've been proven, supposedly, quote unquote, to have been proved that they are always done by drunk college kids coming out of pubs and going into some farmers' fields.
Drunk older folk.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
it's not just the young
I mean,
kids.
we can't claim complete ownership of crop circles. According to the stats, 26 different countries have reported them, but 90% of those have occurred in South England.
Why
That's
do you
quite
think,
a big percentage.
Why do you think England is such a magnet for that?
Well, it could be one of either two things. Either we get a lot of visits from interstellar spacecraft or weird weather events, or the other thing is that we've just got lots of weirdos who go wandering around in crops and making circles themselves.
Occam's
Occam's razor.
Well, what do you personally think? Do you personally think it's UFOs?
Well, I'm of the impression that it's a real skill, but I think it's something that people actually do, rather than something any more supernatural than that.
Because I've seen some crazy, intricate patterns, and they do that overnight. I mean,
well, that's the thing. Most of them seem to happen overnight. That's how it seems to go, and they tend to be in easily accessible areas next to roads and that sort of thing. They sort of started to come to light in the 1970s, but it wasn't really until the late 80s until it really became a big thing over here. And there were two guys whose surnames were Bauer and Chorley, and in 1991 they came clean and admitted they were responsible for pretty much every crop circle from 1978 right the way up to that present day in 1991. They reckon there's about 100 that they couldn't take ownership of, but all the others were down to them.
Huh. Did they say what inspired them to even do it in the first place?
Yeah, apparently there have been reports of a similar sort of thing happening in Australia back in the 60s, and they thought it would be a fun thing to do. Apparently their crop circle making kit involved a plank of wood, a rope, and a baseball cap with a piece of wire sticking out of it.
What was that for?
Sounds like alien technology.
Yeah. Not quite a tinfoil hat, but no, apparently the wire coming out of the baseball cap was pointing straight so that they could walk in straight lines and not crush the crops.
I should get that just for day-to-day life, man. That would really help me.
You could use it for water divining as well.
So do people even think? Do people even associate it with UFO phenomenon anymore, or are people just completely writing it off as?
I think there are probably a hardcore of people who still want to believe that it's something more than just a prank. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just one of the non-believers, but I think the majority of people just see it as a pretty cool, but albeit meaningless kind of occupation that people decide to have a bit of a play at.
What do you think, Paul? You're a big fan of them UFOs.
Oh, well, I've seen the definitive videos on YouTube of daytime crop circles occurring with balls of light and
wow.
But it's probably just an elaborate video effect. But still, there's I watched a documentary about the hardcore group that you were mentioning, and they are adamant that
they really believe.
Yeah, they really do. And when you hear them talk about it, and they supply their quote-unquote evidence and their scientific research, it sounds convincing, but I'm not convinced.
I mean, one thing that struck me just kind of reading up on this a bit was you start to think about it. What about the poor farmers? These guys have got all these expensive crops, and they're just being trashed. And there's actually, I found a bit of evidence of, apparently in 1992, there were two teenagers in Hungary that decided to make a 118-foot diameter crop circle. And it was shown on a Hungarian TV, and then they came forward and said they'd done it, and they showed photographs of before and after.
And then the farmer shot them.
No, he promptly sued them for $3,000.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, what if you had an auto dealership and somebody decided to make auto dealership circles and just crush cars in certain I wouldn't be thinking aliens. I'd be thinking lawsuit.
And apparently, the judge, when he came to his decision on the case, decided that the actual damage that the boys had done was only about $30 worth, and the rest of it was created by the people going to see the crop circles.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm. How much open space? How much open farmland is there in England? I always have the admittedly wrong perception that it's a bit crowded. I mean, are there big, wide open spaces?
Not in the same way that they are in their United States of America.
Apostrophe America.
Apostrophe America. Yeah.
Can British people walk sideways? That's what. I think that's what he's asking.
Well, yeah, just you have to breathe in. But,
I guess because and then I always hear there's stories where the scientists will come with their gadgets and they'll measure a lot of radiation, and they'll note that the wheat stalks are not bent, but it's almost like they've been, I don't know, massaged over. It basically it wasn't like a violent bending. It was like some sort of a ethereal.
That there was a
slow, painful death.
Some sort of radioactive heat source, and
yeah. There was a wet wing effect.
I believe the expression was the nodules have exploded.
Thank you.
Ooh,
yes,
that sounds painful.
How did the college kids explode the nodules?
They didn't go into the details on that, no. But
you really gotta want to explode the nodules. I think
you have to watch Porky's too. I think it's
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, the main sort of agricultural areas in England are in the southwest where I am, so there's quite a big farming community down this way, and also in the east as well. Over in sort of Norfolk and Suffolk and those sorts of areas, they have quite an expansive sort of farming areas.
Okay.
So although we're a small country, we do have quite a big agricultural base.
So you have enough land to be essentially a blank canvas for drunken college kids or aliens, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hey, we can compromise drunken alien college students.
Well, okay. I always thought it was interesting that England has a tradition of stone circles, and then they have these circular patterns cut in to their fields. So to me, that was obvious alien, ancient mysticism tie-in right there, right?
Yeah. Well, Ben, obviously you've seen the Stones of Blood, the Doctor Who episode, so you know that.
Hey!
Oh, damn!
Yes, Mark, I totally have.
But yeah, no, it kind of ties in with that. Obviously, you've got these kind of cool standing stones and places like Stonehenge, and it's kind of groovy. You get these cool effects by people trampling crops next to them. I'm still not sold that it's aliens. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, aliens, if you're listening.
What is the English attitude towards Stonehenge? Are you guys just sick of it? Because over here in the colonies, we've kind of got this impression that it's this mystical, mysterious place full of hooded druids and whatnot. And I just figure over there, you guys are like, yeah, whatever.
Well, when you see it on TV, it looks like this really massive, imposing place. It's kind of cordoned off because it's overseen by the National Trust over here, so it's a site of historic importance, so you can't just go wandering around it. But you can drive very close to it, and I've sort of been on a bus going past, and it actually looks quite small. Sorry, that's really ruined the effect now.
So it was like,
but it's pretty impressive. I mean, you look
in Spinal Tap, basically. Was
that
what it's
that's
like,
it. Because they designed it on a napkin, didn't they?
But there's stone circles all throughout the British Isles, and
that's right.
Are they all tiny?
Is the attitude about it one of preservation, or do people really care?
Well, I think they do care, and I think it's quite it's, how can I put this? The way they're sort of arranged, it's really impressive when you look at it to think, well, how did they get like that? Did they naturally form like that? Or did people? You can't imagine people moving them because they are
aliens,
quite big, heavy. Well, that's the thing, you see, though, and there was a noted case of alien involvement. I think it's become known as the Children of the Stones.
Oh, what is that?
I love that show.
But we can't talk about 70s sci-fi, so we're going to go away from that now.
Oh, come on.
No, we can. Just not Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
You had your 50th anniversary. Now
I'll sit back here and play my John Hurt action figure. You guys go talk about Children of the Stones. Okay. What is Children of the Stones? Was that a TV show that you watched growing up?
It wasn't one that I was really that aware of, but it was mentioned that somebody on your team had quite a bit of affection for it, so I thought I'd search it out. And there's loads of Doctor Who people in it, so Ben, you should definitely watch it.
Oh, okay. it's almost like missing episodes.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what is it about, Paul? I mean, you were kind of
Well, a scientist and his son moved to a tiny town north of London, and of course, the town name escapes me at the moment because I didn't know we were going to be talking about this.
Was it Tinyton?
No, no, afraid not. But anyway, so the town is inside a very large, ancient stone circle, and there are all these, wacky hijinks that happen with the magical stones, and the townsfolk are
Happy day, Paul.
yeah.
Has that ever actually happened in real life? Like, is there an actual English town built inside of a circle, and it's like famous for being
Avebury.
spooky and crazy?
That's what it is.
That's the one. That's the
Avebury.
one. I've not come across that myself, but that's not to say that they don't have something like that. But,
All the streets form a perfect pentagram.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't want to
they
give
are-
away the the whole plot of the show because you kind of have to watch it to the end. I don't think there's that many episodes. It was only on like a season maybe or two.
And it was made, 40 years ago? So spoilers.
Right.
Well, yeah, but it struck me as it's quite creepy for something that's designed for kids.
Yeah. Well, in a lot of ways, there's some Doctor Who episodes that are like that too, from that era.
Actually, 70s in general, even with American TV, it was much more. They didn't care about freaking out kids, and the result of which is the four of us sitting here today. Right.
Hey, we were prepared for the world. Thank you very much.
And the kids didn't have to wear helmets either.
Yeah, whatever, Dave. Tell me about how much you love that bit in Willy Wonka where they go through the magic dreaming cave.
Well, you can shoot a kid in the face, too. That's not really preparing him for the world.
I don't know.
Jeez. Well, a certain life in the world, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's like when we were kids in the playground. It's like, now they have all the soft mulch and the rubberized dirt and all that. We had on our monkey bars, we had a big dirt clod with a big rock sticking out of it, just waiting for a skull to hit. That's what I'm talking
Well, Conway, maybe
Nice.
that's how it is here. Mark, are your playground? Okay, you are a brand new father. Are you are you aware of the state of your country's playgrounds? Are they full of rocks and gravel to gouge kids, or have they been?
Well, it's the same thing. When I was a kid, you had rough gravel, and the older kids would be smashing bottles and stuff, so you'd have broken glass all over the floor. And
Yeah, it's like
we
they
just
added
get on with it. Whereas these days, it's all
turns
soft
you
mulch
into a
and-
man, didn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It made me the man I am today.
Right.
Got your immune system ready for what it would face in
Yeah,
later life.
exactly.
What's childhood without a scuffed knee? I mean,
But you're
Yeah.
saying,
or
but you're
a
saying that-
major
tetanus never hurt
laceration.
anyone.
Yeah.
But you're saying that now your country has cleaned up its playgrounds and it's all soft mulch and stuff, or
Yeah, it's all
Safety first.
yeah.
Kids these days not having to clot every third day.
How will your baby learn how to clot? How? Oh, man. Okay. Well, listen. Okay, we've talked about circles and stuff. Okay, I granted that's weird. Just the fact that college kids will get drunk and make these hundreds of pentagram thingies in the fields, to me, that is amazing in and of itself, even if it's not done by aliens. Because you have to stand in awe at the amount of boredom that these kids have. But, okay, but you haven't really gotten into, like, scary monster stuff. Do you guys have scary monsters there?
Oh, sure we do. Yeah, of course. We don't really have, although I think you managed to dig up something on Bigfoot,
It's
which
what I do.
I know will be hard for the other two guys to believe.
What?
Yeah, this was something I was unaware of. But no, a lot of our stuff, certainly when I was growing up, was all about beasts. We have, because down here in the country, we have lots of moorland, and we had the Beast of Exmoor. It was a big thing when I was growing up. And that was like a giant black cat that would go around savaging animals.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, okay, why was it called a beast? Why didn't someone say that it was like a panther or something?
Well, it's it's one of those things where there were one or two photographs taken, and you never really got an idea of the scale of the animal. So it could have been like someone's cat that had just gone out for a bit of a wander. But yeah, you had all these various tales of, oh, well, it looked like a puma. No, it looked like a panther, and it looked like this, it looked like that. And
this mouse was actually 5 feet long.
But son of a bitch, they've got the proof because they have a Peter Jackson force perspective picture of a kitty cat. It's obviously, it's just like that Star Trek episode where the giant black kitty was hunting down Kirk's
Well, Team America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it kind of came to prominence in the 70s, but it didn't really explode news-wise until the 80s. And I remember it because where most of the attacks happened were really close to where my grandparents lived.
Really?
Which on the edge of Exmoor, yeah. So you'd have all these hundreds of sheep being killed, and you'd find them on the floor with their throats ripped out.
So are you saying college kids were doing that too? Or
No. Well, the assumption was that in the 70s, you'd get people who would have exotic pets. So you'd get someone who would have a big cat as a pet.
okay.
And then that was made illegal. So rather than admitting that you had a exotic pet, you would just kind of let it escape into the countryside.
You leave the gate open.
Yeah, that's it. Leave the cat flap open, and it would just kind of wander out. So that's the theory that a lot of people have, is that it's a big cat that somebody owned and then decided to let it go. But it got to the point where they actually called in the Marines.
Really?
So they were taking it pretty seriously. Yeah.
When they saw that crocodile riding that lion.
What was the evidence that was enough to bring out the Marines? I mean, was it just the eyewitnesses or?
Well, they had eyewitness accounts, and they also had there were more than 100 sheep that were killed with their throats ripped out over a relatively small space of time.
So were you like living in terror? Were you afraid to go outside? Or?
Oh, well, no, it wasn't really that bad because we would only go to visit my grandparents every couple of weeks. So
yeah. You're not a sheep.
Well,
exactly. Yeah.
Were you worried about Grandpa and Grandma? I mean, were they like?
Well, I think I was more worried about live ammunition rounds, being shot by the Marines. But
if they move, shoot it.
So
there's something.
Were you there whenever the soldiers came in?
No, I must admit I didn't see it. I'd see it on the local news on TV.
Because
which is pretty cool.
To me, man, this is totally sounding like an episode of Doctor Who where like a unit comes in because there's a monster.
Nope.
Come on. Something similar actually happened here last year, where there was I think it was goats and cattle were being brought down by some sort of large animal, and they. I think they were claiming it was some sort of
chupacabra.
Well, chupacabra or some sort of super large wolf, or I don't know, which we don't have in this area at all. But but the law enforcement got involved, and there was a search there for a little while. But it didn't pan out. They didn't find anything.
Yeah. So, Mark, are there still like little cryptozoological groups in Exeter that are like the Beast of Ventmore Society? Do they?
Well, there was a cryptozoological society that was based in Exeter. I only found this out when I was doing a little bit of research here and there. They've moved to North Devon now, which is very close to Exmoor, so that's probably like their spiritual home. But around the same sort of time, there was the Beast of Bodmin Moor, which was another big cat. And people had spotted this thing. This was in Cornwall. That's the neighbouring county to Devon, where I am.
Okay.
And Cornish people are a bit strange. I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to say that. My wife is Cornish, and she's okay with that. She's fine. She doesn't mind.
And your baby is half a corn, then, right?
No. He was born in Devon, so that means
all right.
he's from Devonshire.
Cornish strange? How like Wicker Man strange,
Well, they believe that they are a separate country from the rest of Britain, rather like Scotland feel they are at the moment. They have their own language, which only about 1% of the population actually speaks.
Really?
So yeah, they have their own ways.
It's kind of like Texas here. They think they're.
We're going to
Yes.
secede if we can't take firearms into bars.
So the Beast of Bodmin Moor is
It's
basically
a
the
similar
same
sort of
thing,
thing.
or
Well, it was similar. I mean, it came to some sort of conclusion that, both the Exmoor one and Bodmin, in the end, the Ministry for Agriculture decided that they could find no evidence of large cats stalking the countryside. So whether that means that somebody was actually... Oh, yeah, exactly. But just days after the announcement... a little boy was walking along Bodmin Moor and found a large cat skull in the river. Yeah. Which, upon a little bit of analysis, turned out that the way they analysed the skull, they could see that it had been severed at a particular angle in very much the same way that skulls that are attached to rugs are. And there were scratch marks on the skull in the same way that you would take the fur off to create a rug. So, and they said that there was no way that they could tell from the analysis that the animal had died somewhere other than England. So,
how odd.
Maybe it was the little boy, or maybe someone just hurled a skull into the river.
That is a creepy little boy.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though? It's like, okay, whenever there's a Bigfoot sighting here, there's always the you really have to assume that there's the possibility that someone is being pranked. Like there's guys wearing monkey suits out in the woods, or actually there's a type of camouflage that hunters wear called ghillie suits, which are essentially okay. So you know what I'm talking about. So they may have seen something, but you can't really have someone dress up in a giant kitty suit stalking the land, like without it being obvious that it's a guy, that it's a furry basically out walking through the woods, So
that could be a mascot.
They would have to see something that was an actual animal, I would think.
Well, I think we're primed for this because obviously Dartmoor, which is another moor in this area, is famous for the setting of Sherlock Holmes, the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Ah, yeah.
Which was another giant beast that would go around killing stuff.
This is...
So maybe that's kind of like ingrained in our memory.
This is interesting. It seems like in America, our monsters are two-legged human hybrids, like like a lizard man, or Bigfoot is like a monkey man. But I guess over there, your monsters are giant house pets, basically, right?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
There's another, relatively celebrated weird occurrence. Have you guys heard of Spring-Heeled Jack?
I love Spring-Heeled Jack.
I kind of have.
Do tell us, please.
Yeah.
Okay. This goes back to like the beginning of the Victorian era. So you're talking the sort of mid to late 1830s.
Steampunk, right?
Yeah, steampunk, exactly. The first sightings were seen in London, particularly the western edge of London.
Quick question, sorry. Is the western edge of London, is that a affluent area, or is it real kind of a poverty type of area? Or
I think the areas they're talking about that I read about were relatively mixed, really. You'd have areas of poor people, but also kind of rich living side by side.
Okay.
So bit of a mixture.
Okay, so but it isn't someplace that's famous for being the posh area.
What you're trying to say is that poor people would be a little bit nutty and would just imagine these sort of things. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah. In America, we have an entire class of people, of which I am loosely affiliated with, called rednecks. And rednecks tend to be a little bit more down on their luck, and they tend to see 8-foot-tall monkey men walking through the woods. It's just a fact of life. So that's what I'm basically asking about. So.
It breaks up your week a little bit.
Yeah, something to look forward to.
Time for more change in the stereotype jar.
But I was stereotyping myself, so it's okay.
It doesn't matter.
Fine. All right.
Okay, so Spring-Heeled Jack.
Yeah. He's like a kind of phantom stroke demon stroke ghost He
He's
is
a
described.
triple threat. Wow.
He is, yeah. He's got them all, yeah. He's described as being anywhere from sort of 9 feet to 15 feet tall. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Must have real trouble buying shoes, I would imagine.
Especially with his springy heels, that's not going to fit
Exactly,
Doc Martens.
exactly. He usually wears a cape, and he's usually described as wearing tight-fitting clothes that look like oilskins. Sounds a little bit S&M to me. It's a bit strange.
Wait a minute. He has a cape and tight-fitting clothes. You're describing a comic book superhero, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Okay, Dave. This is totally for you. Okay.
I'm on it.
He wears a helmet. Yeah. And he has metal claws for hands.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, it kind of sounds like he was in Kiss, honestly, more than a superhero.
Okay, right away, this is more interesting to me than a giant ghost dog out in the swamps. Okay, this is amazing. All right.
Wouldn't if you're out in swamps.
Well, in the early sightings, they said that he appeared to them as looking like a bear.
A bear?
Which is very, very weird.
Really? I haven't
So
heard
not
that.
only is he this weird-looking, freaky guy, but he can also change form into various animals. So, yeah, he would kind of wander around London scaring the bejesus out of mainly women. Seems to have a thing for women. He'd like to chase after them and snap at them with his little pincery metal claws. Apparently his eyes were like red-hot coals.
Yeah.
And he would vomit blue flames from his mouth.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
This totally
Sounds
sounds
like
like
Gene Simmons. Huh?
Sounds like a
Sounds like
typical
one of those
Saturday
ex-
night to me, really. It's-
sounds like one of those X-Men that Dave's always going on and on about.
Now, I'm not sure if drug use was particularly prevalent in London in that time, but it might explain a lot.
Was the opium, wasn't that a big deal? I saw
yeah,
that in a
yeah,
Doctor
yeah.
Who episode. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, whenever
So
this...
basically, Ben, everything you know about England comes from Doctor Who. Is that-
Absolutely, yes. It's what I do.
Just checking.
Now, whatever people would talk about him, was the description consistent? I mean, were they always saying that he belched flames and he had pincers? You know, or...
Pretty much.
Wow, okay.
The other thing that we should explain, because it kind of does come across in his name, he had the ability to leap great distances, so he could jump over a 12-foot fence in just one bound.
Now,
As you do.
Now, this. When does the story kind of originate? Sort of early 19th century, or
Well, the first reported sighting was 1837.
okay. Now, you're familiar with Devil's Footprints, right?
Yes, because that's just down the road from me.
Right. So
In fact,
I was wondering
it
if
originates in
you
Exeter,
felt
so
that they
yeah.
were linked somehow.
Well, yeah, there is a bit of a link there. It's something I've known about or I was aware of since I was a kid, but I only really sort of researched it more recently.
Hold on, hold the show. Pause on Spring Hill Jack. Explain the Devil's Footprint thing. What is that?
Okay, so around the similar sort of time period, he says, quickly looking on Wikipedia, 1855. In 1855, there was a really heavy snowfall in, I think it was the April or the February of that year. Sorry, the February of that year. And residents of, well, they're talking about Exeter, which is where I live, and they're talking about an area anywhere between 40 to 100 miles, could see hoof-shaped footprints in the snow, single file, like the sort of thing that Satan would leave behind.
Were they giant or were they like cow-sized?
They were. That's a good question. I don't have that information.
Yes. Cows are a standard measurement. Over
Here, I'll help you out. According to Wikipedia, they were measured around 4 inches long and 3 inches across.
Okay, is that a standard horse or cow?
Between 8 and 16
Hang on a
inches
minute, let me
apart.
get my cow measure out.
Get Milky in here. Milky, come here. I want to measure your feet.
Mostly in
because-
single file.
Well, because when I'm wondering, okay, was the strange thing that they were in single file, or was it because they were of a weird size that wouldn't be
Well,
normal for them.
It was the whole single file thing, and also the fact that they were kind of, when you come to a large obstacle, they just keep going. So haystacks, houses, so you'd have the little footprints on the roofs in the snow.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't like they would stop at one side of a house and then start on the other. They would actually be up on the top of the houses walking over it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
So I guess what I was wondering is, like, you know, when you live in an area, it sort of becomes part of the culture, right? Do people kind of automatically assume that they are tied Spring Heel Jack and the Devil's Footprints?
I think there is a bit of connection between the two, because I think when Spring Heel Jack really got to the height of his popularity, so to speak, he was kind of synonymous with the devil. So the devil would be, because you've got names like Old Nick and what have you, and Spring Heel Jack would be another name that would be associated with the devil.
Ah.
So I think they kind of go hand in hand, or should that be hoof in hoof?
Right.
Well, one more question, and then we get back to that, just on the devil footprint thing. Did they follow the footprints all the way to Satan's house?
Well, it went to Dorset, which is actually quite a nice part of the world, which is... I wouldn't want to denigrate Dorset in any way. It's a lovely, lovely place.
Hey, the devil doesn't live in a hole, you know.
So
the
they
devil
stopped
went
outside.
down to Dorset. He was looking for his soul to steal, right?
Did he have a fiddle?
Yeah.
He was in a bind. He was way behind.
But seriously, did they track it to its lair? I mean, or did the footprints just stop, or did the snow melt and they couldn't follow it? Do you know these things?
Well, I think it's a question of there were lots of occurrences and sightings, and people just kind of pieced it together. I think somebody had analysed it and said there's no way that anyone could possibly follow the tracks for all those miles. It just wouldn't be.
So they
possible
gave
to
up.
do.
That's what you're saying. They're like, it's too far to walk.
Maybe. There is a theory.
Yeah.
In one of the possible theories is that the hoof prints are actually made by mice.
What? How?
Yeah. Wood mice who are trying to get home, and they're jumping in the snow, and the indentation that their bodies leave in the snow looks like a hoof print.
Really? Huh.
Well, these are obviously satanic mice. I mean, it goes
Of
without
course,
saying,
of
right?
course.
Okay.
They have little pitchforks and everything.
Because they were going in a straight line, and mice do not do that.
Ill-tempered wood mice.
Well, they were obviously fleeing from the demon beast of Exeter, who was a giant kitty cat, right? And it all ties together. I'm telling you. Well,
It all
anyway-
makes sense.
Well, anyway, get back to Spring Heel Jack. So he is reported,
Yes.
and he's like harassing the ladies.
Yeah.
And okay, so
This is before Jack the Ripper, so you could kind of understand maybe people getting freaked out if that was going on. But this is a good, I think it's something like maybe 10 years before Jack the Ripper came onto the scene.
So does anyone know the motivation of this guy? Did he ever put out a statement, or was he just?
Did he ever write a letter into the into the Daily Mail?
Did he have a bio? Yeah.
I think he had a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
Hey, where's my drums? Okay, never mind. Okay.
Well, there were a few theories about some Marquis was alleged to have been Spring Heel Jack. He was known for going out and getting drunk and getting into fights and stuff. So they reckoned it might have been him, or there'd been other sort of theories. I was reading in the Fortean Times. I don't know if you guys get that over there.
Yeah.
Do you guys get the Fortean Times?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
There was a piece about Spring Heel Jack in the United States of America. Yeah.
Was it referred to as Spring Heel Jack, or did they call it something? Oh, it was. Okay.
Spring Heel Jack.
Because I was thinking it was very sort of similar to the Jersey Devil, but
maybe. Well,
I mean that's just
the
my
British
connection. Like
Yeah,
in the
it could
net
have been
in the
the
next
British,
5 minutes.
It could be in the British magazine, just putting a more British-centric spin on it. But yeah, there were reported sightings in, I think it was in Newark, or certainly reported in the Newark newspaper of a 12-foot high demon with claws for hands going around nipping people.
Now, you know, I'm thinking this could all have been done, again, the drunk college kids, ye old Victorian steampunk drunk college kids, you know, like, okay, because you could probably get some sort of a fancy glove, you know, to be pinchers, and you could probably do some sort of a theater trick to do the fire and thing, you know, and they could be doing that as a way of having fun or getting close to the ladies without, you know, being shunned or whatever. But the only thing I can think that they couldn't really pull off is the whole jumping thing. Has that ever been explained? Or
I think the consensus, certainly these days, maybe not back then, is that these people were so sort of hysterical after being attacked that, you know, they start believing anything, including belching fire from its mouth and stuff.
How do you feel about mass hysteria?
Well,
for it or against it?
You know, I mean, do you feel as though it's a very plausible explanation for many things, or is that sort of just your personal opinion? I don't know.
I think looking at certainly that period, it was a time of great change because it was the start of the Victorian era. So I guess there were a lot of people who were kind of worried about how things were going to pan out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sort of unease can spread, and when you start getting stories being passed along.
Right.
I could definitely see that sort of catching fire, if you like.
The thing about mass hysteria that always throws me is that people report seeing the exact same thing. How would people know to have the same hallucination as the next person?
Well, word travels fast.
Bear in mind, we had, I don't know if you've heard of penny dreadfuls. They were like little sort of precursors to comic books. So they were sort of,
I like that name.
yeah.
Penny Dreadful. That's great.
Yeah, that sounds like a prostitute to me.
Now on stage 3,
Tell you, boys,
Penny Dreadful.
Stay away from Penny. Now approaching the center stage is Penny Dreadful. Okay.
So it kind of became part of the public consciousness. So, and there were newspaper reports as well. It got into the London Times and other newspapers.
Was there ever any tangible evidence that this guy existed, or was it always just witness sightings?
As far as I'm aware, it was always witness sightings.
Okay. Did he ever kill anyone or attack anyone, or was it always just flirting with the ladies in his weird, pinchy way?
I think we were attacked. I think probably the most well-known one was known as the Allsop case, which I don't know if Paul's heard of that one.
No.
Allsop? Okay.
Allsop.
Orthop.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a lady called Jane Allsop.
Allsop, okay.
Yeah. So she claimed that someone knocked on her door saying to her, "We captured Spring Hill Jack. Fetch me a candle." So she goes to get a candle, comes back, and then the guy moves his cloak out of the way, and it turns out it really is Spring Hill Jack himself. So he starts attacking her, and all this crazy stuff ensues. But that's the one that made the papers and really started to cause mass panic.
Wow, that totally sounds like that scene in Spaceballs where, you know, Darth Helmet lures him out, and then he's like, "Fooled you." You know?
So what happened? Like, I mean, they caught. I assume he got away. They didn't.
He got away. Yeah.
What happened
You
to
know
the
what?
poor
He always
woman?
get- he
Did
always
she
got
get
away.
nipped at?
Well, yeah, she did. She had her clothes ripped, and I think there were quite a few people who had these experiences and were never quite the same again. They went a bit, we'd say over here, a bit doolally.
Well, 9 months later, did she have the son of Spring Hill Jack? Did she have a baby belching fire? You know?
That would be a painful delivery.
Oh, my God. His little pinchers, you know, coming out of there.
Ooh, nasty.
Yeah, self-induced cesarean. My God, ow. Well, that's...
But one thing I did notice through reading about the New England reports is that Jack is bigger.
What?
He's taller. Yeah, everything. Just whether it's playing up to stereotypes, but everything in the United States is bigger, and Spring Hill Jack is bigger, and he can leap over bigger fences. And...
Well, we were
You
so
just have to go one better than us.
we
then.
were so afraid of your ye old English stories about Spring Hill Jack. We built our fences to be Spring Hill Jack proof, and we made them bigger on purpose to protect our children. But then Jack went and got an
He
upgrade.
got taller.
Yeah.
Jack went and got an upgrade.
We just made a stronger Jack.
Maybe he had Cuban heels fitted with Techno springs or something.
I wonder, has Mythmakers ever like tried to bust this, like where they get a shoe with springs in it and actually try to jump over things? Is that even possible?
If they haven't, they should.
That's like Wile E. Coyote Acme type of a scenario, you know? And, did you guys get Bugs Bunny cartoons growing up, Mark?
Oh, sure, yeah, I've got the DVDs.
Oh, so you probably think that every place in America looks like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote
Albuquerque.
scenes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Everything looks like Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Everything you own in your house was made by Acme.
Yeah.
So basically, everything I know about Britain, I get from Doctor Who. Everything you know
Yep.
about America comes from
It's
Warner
from Looney
Brothers.
Tunes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I can live with that. That's fine.
Fair enough.
I do have a speech impediment, like several of their characters, so I'm just fitting the stereotype, basically.
That just makes you charming.
Well, that's cool. Well, hey, do you have any others in your rogues gallery there?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I could go on forever. We have,
Give us a couple
going back to... Okay, we're going back to my part of England again, back to the southwest. There's the legend of the Hairy Hands.
Oh.
I've got those.
Okay, so the Hairy Hands is a ghost story that's based around Dartmoor, which again is out in the sticks. And not saying that we have rednecks over here, but you know, a lot of these incredible stories do tend to happen in remote, rural places.
Do you guys have a word that's similar to our redneck terminology over there? Because when I say redneck, you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I've seen Deliverance.
Okay, all right, yeah. Do you have the...
Ding, 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 ding.
Is there a British equivalent of redneck? You know?
Ooh, I guess inbred. Would that be the word?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Or sorry, rednecks. Or
Maybe it's more hooligan, perhaps.
Yeah, like what is a derogatory term?
are you making me think of Bill Hicks now when you say that?
Well,
Man,
I mean,
wait.
is there a derogatory term that you guys apply to people who live out in the country that may be of lower intelligence? You know, I mean, or is it inbred? Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're special people.
Okay. Special necks. Got it.
Wait. I have a slight offshoot here. And I know this is dangerous ground I'm treading on for some people, but Torchwood. There is an episode of Torchwood where they're going out into the country, and it's supposed to be like one of the creepiest episodes on television of all time. Where
It's called Countryside.
Yes.
I hated that episode.
Did you see the episode, Ben?
I hated that episode. Yeah.
You hated it?
Oh, it was a great episode.
I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Really? Wow. Well, yeah. I was just wondering if everyone was like that in the country, or.
Well, that was based in Wales.
Okay.
Yeah.
My apologies then.
Well,
Sorry,
anyway,
Welsh listeners.
hairy hands. What's the hairy hand thing?
Yeah. Okay, so Dartmoor is quite beautiful, but it's quite a sort of creepy place. It's got lots of weird rock formations, not quite on the scale of your Death Valley or anything like that, but it's quite misty and creepy. They have a prison there where they would send all the worst possible criminals, because it's such a remote place. You kind of stick them in the middle of nowhere. So it's not, you know, if you're driving through it at night, it probably wouldn't be the most pleasant place to go, although it can be quite picturesque in a kind of weird way.
Okay. Yeah.
And there is an area of Dartmoor called Postbridge. And so between Postbridge and another place called Two Bridges, there's a road. So a sort of winding country road. And it's haunted by the Hairy Hands.
Is it
they
is
are-
it a pair of giant hands with feet, or is it? I just
It's a pair of disembodied hands.
whoa.
Yeah.
I
And they're hairy.
where do the hands stop? I mean, is it like right at the wrist, or is it?
Well, I've not seen them myself, but I'm guessing at the wrist.
Okay,
Are
okay,
there hairy forearms?
right. You don't want that. No, the hairy forearms haunt the 2 roads over, man. It's just, yeah.
So this is something that goes back to 1910. So it's relatively recent,
Oh, okay.
only in the last sort of 100 years or so. And the way it goes is that the reported sightings have been you'll have someone who's driving, and all of a sudden the hands will just suddenly appear on their steering wheel and force them to drive off the road and crash.
That sounds oddly suspicious.
They're not only disembodied, they're self levitating, I suppose.
The more cynical amongst you might think that it's just an excuse for someone who's perhaps slightly had a few too many drinks.
Bingo!
I think a lot of this we can distill down to drunk college kids. That's amazing. Wow.
It wasn't me,
that?
officer,
So, yeah,
I
it's-
swear.
Was there some sort of a famous violent accident that happened there that people think, oh, well, this is obviously the ghost of old man McGillicuddy whose hands are killing everyone who comes by, you know? Or...
Well, there is like an offshoot sort of story that people think it's to do with a killer who was sentenced to Dartmoor prison and died in the prison. It's his hands that are killing people, but that's just one theory.
Well, okay, well, they're going to have to basically dig up every prisoner there, every prisoner's grave, and
Find the one that doesn't have the hands.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Why
good.
didn't we think of that?
Boots on the ground investigation. That's what they got to do, man. I'm telling you.
And if they find one with metal claws instead of hands, it might be Spring Heel Jack.
It all fits together, man.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, out of all the body parts that could horrifically haunt you, hands, I think they're getting off easy there. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's a bit more
Yeah.
practical, too. I mean, you wouldn't
yeah.
be haunted by a
There are
neck.
certain-
You know, it's really hard to do.
Well, I'm thinking of more other
Yeah.
hairy body parts.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
think I
A little bit
want
more
those
South
after
Poly,
me.
but
Yeah.
I also think it's really nice in a way that it's a pair of hands, so they're not really lonely. If it was just one hand, he'd probably
Yeah.
it'd be a bit more sad, wouldn't it?
Pining for his other half.
Pining for his brother. Yeah.
Yeah. There was one person killed in an incident, which happened in 1921. He was a doctor, and he was a medical officer at the prison, and he had a motorcycle and sidecar, and he was taking 2 children who were the children of the governor. He was taking them home, and the hairy hands grasped the handlebars and forced them off the road. He died, but the 2 children survived.
Oh, so they're the ones who said that the hands did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, have you ever driven down that road to sort of test the legend?
I haven't personally. My wife has been around that area, and she says it is very creepy. There's just something about the whole place. There's been theories that the sort of the skeptical view of it is that it's the camber or the angle of the road that causes people, if they're not paying attention, to swerve and crash.
Huh.
Or possibly just too much alcohol.
Which can also make you swerve and crash.
It can, yeah.
With hairy hands, if you're,
You know,
if you have them.
so would you say that you live in one of the creepier areas of England? I mean, down where you're at?
Well, there's lots of weird stuff that's gone on down here. I mean, we're country folk, so you know it kind of goes with the territory.
Wow.
So you kind of think of rednecks and Bigfoot, and we have kind of farmers and
Hairy hands.
yokels and hairy hands.
Hairy hands.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, do you have any more? Because you're
Well, I
totally
was-
convincing me. I think phantom hands are way scarier than a 8-foot monkey man right now. So.
Well, I was thinking you were going to tell me about some of your weirder American versions to try and outdo me.
Well, all we really got is the Bigfoot and the Goat Man, I guess. I don't know. We don't really have anything like a pair of phantom hands, do we? Do we, guys? Have you ever heard of that?
Well, you remember the story of the bunny, the guy in the bunny costume,
The Bunny Man, yeah.
Wasn't there a tunnel involved? It's a particular tunnel in
It's Bunny Man Bridge in Maryland.
Maryland.
It's either Maryland or Virginia, but I think it's Maryland. Have you heard that one, Mark?
No, that sounds weird.
There's long story short, apparently I don't know why, but it seems like most of the American legends tend to always start with a train crash or a bus crash. And essentially there was a bus or a train was moving a bunch of prisoners out of one prison and transferring them to another. There was a derailment, and everyone died except for the worst murderer prisoner that was on the train, and he got out. And
what were the chances of that?
I know, astronomical. And
come on, God, what are you thinking?
God has a lot to answer for here, man. So the town started to be terrorized because this guy who was also insane. It always helps if you're a murdering insane guy for these legends. The town folks started to find torn up rabbit carcasses on their doorsteps when they would wake up in the morning. There were bits of bunny being flung all over town. And they found a big pile of them on this train bridge, and there was this little tunnel under it. And apparently some kid was there, and the kid was found murdered, and he was hanging by his neck, and there was this note pinned to his shirt, and it said something like, "Don't ever come here, signed the Bunny Man," or something like that. So
creepy.
So this was supposed to have happened in the 20s. Fast forward to the 60s, and in that same area, couples would be driving down the road, and they started to report that a guy dressed in a bunny suit would be standing by the side of the road, brandishing an axe and chasing the cars. And one couple reported that the guy dressed in a bunny suit actually threw the axe. The axe went through their back seat window. It shattered it, scared him off, and he was shaking his fists at him. So it was sort of like the old legend.
Was this during Easter?
Oh, it could have been. It could have been. But I just thought it was neat how the original Bunny Man legend inspired a copycat insane guy later, like 30 or 40 years later, you know. So.
Or maybe it was Eugene Toombs from the X-Files in a bunny suit. He was getting those bunny livers so he could get the juice out of them so he could go and sleep for another 40 years.
That was a good one.
Or it could have been the mascot from Johnny's Bunny Burgers.
Yeah.
Just gone wrong.
But, yeah, I just think it's hilarious, you know, a guy in a bunny suit. What can you do? That's terrifying, man. So
that's creepy.
Yeah, I mean, every I think region has like those stories, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to nail
the Jersey
one.
Devil earlier.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Is that
heard
similar
of that?
to Spring Hill Jack?
Have you ever heard of that?
I'm vaguely aware of it. I think they're going back to X-Files. I think there may have been an X-Files about the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, there was. And in the X-File one, they were trying to make it sound like it was another name for a Bigfoot creature, but actually, the Jersey Devil is something completely different. It's Is
it like the Tasmanian Devil?
No, it's worse. It's more terrifying.
So I go back to Looney Tunes again.
Yeah,
there's nothing more terrifying than the Tasmanian Devil.
Whenever people say New Jersey, especially here, they tend to think of like the Jersey Shore show or the big industrial area, but actually
Springsteen.
Yeah. But that's actually more in the northern part. Throughout most of the state, it's actually very, very rural and very, very wooden. And there's this area in the south called the Pine Barrens, which is this huge area of forests, and not a lot of people live there. And there's a lot of ghost towns dating back to colonial days. But the story is that this area is haunted by this creature who's about 4 feet tall, and he has like this horse head, and he stands on 2 feet, and he has a long tail, and he has these giant bat wings, and he has red glowing eyes
and cloven hooves.
And cloven hooves, and he is said to...
And a helmet.
And he is helmet free.
and a snorkel.
And he is said to to have the worst scream that you have ever heard in the whole. The whole origin of the legend is that there was this family.
I suppose this was before America's Got Talent, wasn't it?
Absolutely, this is back when
Yeah.
America had to make its own talent. You know.
His scream was very nasally.
Yeah.
Very
I'm
pitchy.
sure
voted
there's
off the
worse
island.
noises on that.
Simon hated it. There was this family called the Leeds family, and the father, and they apparently had like 12 kids. This lady was always pregnant because this was before America had talent. They had nothing else to do.
Before America had birth control, too.
That's true, yeah.
Where the hell are all these kids coming from?
So the story goes that Mother Leeds was sick of being pregnant. She was always pregnant, and she had been knocked up for a 13th time. It's always 13 for some reason. And so she was in labor.
Unlucky for some.
She was in labor. She was sick of it. She was like, son of a bitch, this next baby the devil can have. I'm sick of being pregnant. And apparently, magically, the baby inside her transformed into this little hell beast. And he was born, and he spread his wings, and he was like, ah! And then he flew out of the window. And he's been haunting the Pine Barrens of New Jersey ever since.
Wow. The winged devil baby.
Yeah. So you just, whenever you see your son later today, he may
Yeah,
be,
my little boy can scream, but I
he
don't
may
think
be
he's
crying,
quite
he
that
may
bad.
be screaming. You just think about how freaking lucky you are that you didn't get a devil baby, okay?
Well, I know we don't really have a tradition of Bigfoot or Sasquatch or anything like that, but we do have the daddy of all monsters, and that has got to be the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah. Do you believe in such a thing?
Well, as a kid, I did.
Yeah, because everyone wants to
As a
believe.
kid,
That was the perfect
yeah,
pause.
you see, yeah, you see the photos and you think, oh yeah, that's so cool, and then as an adult, you just think it's a bit hokey,
Well,
but go with it.
I think the best thing going for that story for such a long time was that famous photo of the swan-like looking dinosaur neck thing, which
Now that was the surgeon's.
that was the
photograph,
surgeon's
wasn't it?
photo, and on his deathbed, he admitted that he had faked it. And
This was a whole thing to try to discredit the Daily Mail, which is one of the worst publications
oh,
in
I
the
didn't
history
know
of
that.
newspapers.
I didn't know that aspect of the story. What is this? What do you mean?
Okay, well, just give you a little bit of background on the Daily Mail. I'm probably slightly biased because I just really hate the Daily Mail. Back in the 1920s, they were very keen to align themselves with a political group known as the Black Shirts, who were the British fascists. They were kind of our version of the Nazis.
You guys had Nazis? Wow.
Well, kind of, yeah. They didn't go quite to the same extreme.
Did they have mental
Germans did, but,
pinchers and breathe fire?
War helmets.
They had black shirts.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So yeah, and they also sympathised with Mr. Hitler during the war and said that we should appease him, and he wasn't really all that bad after all. And all these stories of mass genocide were all just a bit jumped up. So generally, kind of derided by most common people in the UK, and just anyone who's got an ounce of sense wouldn't read that newspaper. So anyway, moving on a bit. Yeah, the surgeon's photograph, I think that came about because there was someone who was linked with the newspaper, and they were derided in some way by the newspaper. They got made to look an idiot, and they decided to get their own back, so they decided to stage a photograph of Nessie.
Okay.
And they convinced this gynecologist chap to submit the photos, and he said that he didn't want his name used, so they were known as the surgeon's photograph.
Okay.
And
Because that was always something that gave it an extra air of credence, was because it was from a educated medical man, right? And
yeah. There was an article in 1975 in the Sunday Telegraph, which is another British paper, and they talked about how they made it using a toy submarine bought from Woolworths and some what they describe as plastic wood to make the head bit.
Like modeling clay, basically, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that seems to have been pretty much comprehensively regarded as a hoax.
And what I've always heard is that up until that photo, no one had ever described Nessie as having the long plesiosaur neck. You know, it was always more just humps in the water. Lovely,
Yeah, that's right.
lovely monster humps, you know. And after that photo, suddenly people were like, I saw its long neck stretching out. So it's sort of like the mass hysteria thing that Paul was talking about, where once the story got out, people just sort of started repeating the same appearance, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there have been other photographs and snatches of film and things like that, generally made by people who tend to benefit from such things because they do tours of the loch on their boat and show people the sites where Nessie's been seen. Sorry, that's me being cynical again. But yeah, there's been loads of studies to try and get a genuine answer to whether there is anything there. I know the Discovery Channel did a thing back, I think that might have been late 90s, early 2000s. And also the BBC set up some elaborate thing with about 15 different sonar responders to try and pick up anything in the water, and they just couldn't come up with anything at all. So it's... But of course, Ben, going back to Doctor Who, we know that there's like a little tunnel that goes between Loch Ness
of course.
And the North Sea, so they can just travel to and fro.
Everyone knows that the Loch Ness Monster is an alien cyborg. Everyone knows that. Come on.
Of course.
Well, do you have you ever been to Loch Ness?
I must admit, I know this sounds really bad because compared to the United States of America, Britain is quite a small place. I've never actually been to Scotland. So I must do that sometime. But I'd like to go and see the sights.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's lots of places in America I've never been. I've never been to the apostrophe part. I mean, there's tons of places. Nothing to worry about there.
You grew up in the apostrophe part. What are you talking
about? I did, pretty much. Well, hey, Mark, we think the old clock is ticking, and I actually had one thing I wanted to bring up, but we don't have time, so I'm going to save it for later. You have to come back, okay? And maybe we could talk about X-Files or something. You seem to know a lot about that, you know, and I can get to this. But
I've seen the odd episode.
There was one final question that we all wanted to ask you, and Dave, would you like to ask him?
What's with the bad guys in Star Wars having the British accents and the good guys having the American accents?
I know.
And Carrie Fisher is actually doing a British accent in the beginning, but when she's being broken out, it switches to straight up American.
American.
What's up with that?
Well,
are you all evil?
Well,
I think that's what we're trying to get.
Are you wearing a black shirt?
Well, I think since World War II, bearing in mind that one of you has the surname Schneider, the other one has the surname Muller.
Yeah, I'm actually from Scottish descent. So.
Oh, okay. It's politically incorrect to have people with sort of German-sounding accents being the bad guys. So, seeing as we were sort of in charge of quite a lot of the world at one point through, let's be honest, slightly dodgy means. We're a pretty easy target, really. So
we'll call it proxy.
You weren't jackboot thugs. You were Spring Hill booted thugs.
Well, you may be forgetting the whole slavery thing.
Maybe I know it's awkward. We all did bad things. But anyway, yeah. So as a kid, whenever you saw Star Wars, were you like, wait a minute, why does everyone sound like me? Is a complete douche? What's going on here, man?
I must admit, I never really thought of it that way. I just thought, oh, wow, this is so cool.
But I'd like to point out that Darth Vader did not have an English accent.
Yeah.
I think...
And he was the baddest of the lot.
Right. I think, though, that was a spoiler for how Return of the Jedi ended. Because, man, he was good.
Well, actually, in fairness, he was played by an Englishman.
He wasn't voiced by an Englishman, though.
No. I think it would have been better if they kept the original voice.
Because didn't he have like a squeaky Scottish accent. Is that right?
No, David Prowse is from the West Country,
okay.
which is where I'm from. There are varying levels of West Country accent. So I don't know if you have the same thing over there, whether you get, like, using your term again, rednecks who are
Oh, hell yeah, we do.
Oh, yeah, you have
incomprehensible that you can barely make out what they're saying.
You have different shades of red. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sort of
the
a
same thing
pinkish
applies.
neck myself. That's my accent.
Okay. Well, the same sort of thing applies with English accents. So, he came across sounding very much like a farmer. So he'd be like, "Luke, I am your father," which wouldn't sound quite as menacing, but I think it would give it a whole new dimension.
Oh, man. Well, that's cool. Well, and actually, when you think about it, Obi-Wan Kenobi, he was the only good guy who had a British accent. But it was later proved that he was a huge liar. So
that's true.
He was evil by default, right?
From a certain perspective, my ass.
Yeah. Well, as a person of German descent, I always, maybe that's how I feel when I watch those Indiana Jones movies. I was like, come on, not all the Germans are bad, just a lot of them. I don't know.
Yeah, just a lot of them.
Well, anyway, man, I think we need to get you back before we create a international incident, and with embassies and all that stuff. So
Is there any chance that when you send me back, I don't get hit in the testicles with a taser again?
We'll have an aim higher.
I think it's a requirement of the travel.
Okay, I'm stealing myself.
Why don't we just send them back through the tunnel, through the transatlantic tunnel? I mean, isn't that a thing? Haven't they built that?
Do I have to hold my breath?
I've never taken it. I don't know.
Is it the same tunnel that you use for all your sort of waste, like the poop that gets generated by the toilets in the tower?
Shh. There's only one way in, but there are several ways out. Yes, that's the bad fact. Well, listen, Mark, give us a plug one more time. What's your podcast?
Okay, I do 2 podcasts. My little project is called Nerdology UK. You can find it on iTunes, and it's on an app called Stitcher, and you can find it pretty much anywhere on the web. Just type it in. And we kind of do a variety of things. A little bit of Doctor Who, sorry guys, but also stuff like the aforementioned Star Wars and literature and pop culture, that kind of stuff. And I do another podcast called the Blue Box Podcast, which is from Starburst magazine. Well, I say I do it. It's basically JR's podcast, and very occasionally I get to speak.
I actually heard the last one, and you sounded like you were speaking up for yourself more there in the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, you were a bit more forceful, and then as the 2 hours went on, I figured you were kind of getting a bit more sleepy.
I was going to say you should hear the outtakes, but I don't think that's really for a family audience. I might send you those as a bonus file.
Excellent.
I love that. Cool. Well, audience, if you're in foreign land and you want to ask us a question, you can send us a yield note at towergram@gmail.com. Can people call from overseas? Does that work?
I don't see why not, as long as they know the country code.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
I believe the country code is 1.
Followed by 502-286-9372 or 502 Tower 2.
Tower 2.
That's right.
Yes, Ben. People from other countries know this. You don't.
Listen.
Look, he gets the email address. That's
my
something.
thing. It's my thing.
Yeah.
Don't take this from him.
Well, hey, now that the podcast is over, I'm totally free to be. Mark, last night I threw out my loose cannon enemy of the World V8 VHS.
It's not over.
I have never been so happy to litter in my life. It was amazing. and
Towerbot's taser's ready, Mark.
Amazon sent me that big Doctor Who vault book. It's amazing. It's actually got a picture of Peter Davison's personality.
Oh my God.
It's beige.
Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, and speaking of Peter Capaldi isn't wearing a tie in his official outfit. What's that all about? You gotta have a tie. Don't you have to have a tie?
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't want to go back down that Eccleston route. What the hell?
Time will tell.
Time Lord will tell if it would ever happen.
Oh.
Is the show over? Cool. Hold still. Hope you carbon-based units enjoyed this episode. If you did, do us a solid and rate us on iTunes. If you'd like to spout a half or fully baked opinion, email us at towergram@gmail.com or call us at 502-286-9372 or 502-2-Tower-2. Tower of Technobabble is sponsored by Panorama Creative Group. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Have you ever heard anything that made you mad? That was like, you're completely wrong.
I think there was a speculation that it wasn't really the Germans' fault that World War One started. No, I'm not saying that the British were completely innocent on that part, but yeah.